We begin with a historic decision by the International Criminal Court. For the first time since Russia invaded Ukraine, the ICC has issued arrest warrants for Russia's president and its so-called Commissioner for Children's Rights. The court is accusing Vladimir Putin and Maria Lvova-Belova of war crimes, saying both are responsible for a scheme to illegally deport thousands of Ukrainian children to Russia. This is the first time an ICC warrant has been issued against a leader of a permanent member of the UN Security Council. Western officials are praising the move, saying Russia has clearly committed atrocities.
We have always made clear at the European Union that those responsible for the illegal aggression against Ukraine must be brought to justice. And this International Criminal Court issue is just the start in the process of accountability and holding Russia and its leader to account for the crimes and atrocities they are committing in Ukraine.
The West also says Russia's Children's Rights Commissioner is directly behind the deportation of Ukrainian children. She's accused of forcing them to receive political re-education and to be adopted by Russian families. Russia doesn't deny that it is removing children from their country, but it is rejecting the ICC's allegation of war crimes. Moscow says the court's case has no merit since Russia, like the US and Ukraine, is not an ICC member state.
The decisions of the International Criminal Court have no meaning for our country, including from a legal point of view. Russia is not a member of the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court and bears no obligations under it. Russia does not cooperate with this body, and possible pretenses for arrest coming from the International Court of Justice will be legally null and void for us.
Well, the ICC's chief prosecutor says these warrants are more than symbolic measures and there could be more charges to come. Here's what Kareem Khan told CNN's Clarissa Ward in this exclusive interview.
We're still at an early stage of the investigations. We are continuing to look at all the allegations that we have received, that we are uncovering, and we will make the necessary applications to the judges if and when the evidence fulfills those requirements. So the fact that today the judges of the International Criminal Court, pursuant to their statutory responsibilities, have decided to issue the 2 warrants that have been mentioned doesn't mean that's it. We will keep on going to the best of our ability to ensure that the many other crimes, the many other allegations that seem to have been committed are uncovered.
So is it fair to say this is essentially just the first step and there are multiple other investigations into potential war crimes in Ukraine that your office will be looking into?
Yes, I think it's very clear that it's an ongoing theatre of battle. And war is not illegal, but the war has certain constraints. There's not a free license to commit every type of atrocity. You can't rape, you can't attack civilian objects, you can't attack civilians, you can't execute people that have laid down their arms. These are the basic principles that have been well understood by all sides.
Well, I want to discuss this more with Mark Ellis, Executive Director of the International Bar Association. He joins us live from London. Thank you very much for getting up early for us for this discussion. We appreciate it. Just explain for us, what is the next step? Because I understand the ICC can't have a trial without Vladimir Putin present in court. So what will it take to see him face justice?
Well, I think the most important step is the one that took place yesterday, and that is the arrest warrant, in essence, the indictment. We just heard Prosecutor Khan say this is not the first, or excuse me, not the last, and it certainly won't be. There'll be a number, I think, of additional indictments against Mr. Putin for crimes committed in Ukraine. But now it's a bit of a waiting game here, and I think we have to split. The legal process has just occurred. And now we move to a political process because the international community has to support the court and has to ensure that Mr. Putin, at least for the time being, is a pariah in his own state or limited to travel to those states that will not arrest him. So I think he becomes a much more isolated figure in the international community because it's extraordinary as a sitting head of state to now have an arrest warrant. And that is, from a legal point of view, very significant. Symbolically, it's very significant.
And you say that the international community has to support this court, but there are a number of major countries that are not members, including Russia, including Ukraine, including the US. Russia says because it's not a member, this charge has no meaning. It doesn't recognize the ICC. You mentioned how this could impact Putin's future travel plans. Where could he be arrested?
Well, a couple things. One, regardless of whether Russia supports the ICC, and it's clear that it does not, it doesn't exclude Russia nor Mr. Putin from coming into the jurisdiction of the ICC. And the reason is because Ukraine, although you're right, is not a state party, but has in fact accepted the jurisdiction of the court. And therefore, the crimes are being committed against Ukraine by Russia under the leadership of Mr. Putin do fall within the jurisdiction of the court. So it doesn't matter what Russia says in regards to not in any way recognizing the court recognizes Mr. Putin now as an alleged war criminal. Now, Mr. Putin there he certainly would be able to travel to a limited number of countries that will have no interest in supporting the ICC, whether it's China, North Korea, Iran. But that's a fairly small group of countries. For the vast number of countries, and particularly the state parties to the Rome Statute, to the ICC, there will be an obligation that Mr. Putin, if he were to travel, would be apprehended and arrested. And I think that's a powerful message, not only to Mr. Putin, but to the international community, that even a sitting head of state cannot in any way escape the long arm of justice as set forth by the International Criminal Court. I think that's very significant.
Yeah, it certainly is. And of course, this charge by the ICC relates to the illegal taking of thousands of Ukrainian children and dispersing them to far-flung places all over Russia. Russia has not concealed this program. In fact, they use it as propaganda. How could that help the prosecution if and when this goes to court?
I suspect that's one of the reasons the prosecutors set out this first case. One, it's a very emotive case. You're talking about children, as you've indicated, that have been brought out of Ukraine into the Russian Federation. And this is an extraordinary atrocity, and it is, in fact, a grave breach of the Geneva Conventions. But this is a situation where Mr. Putin, as he has done many times, is in essence says, I embrace this, I accept this. And in essence is saying, yes, I've committed this crime. In his mind, he may not think it's a crime, but in the eyes of the international community, in the eyes of the International Criminal Court, it is a crime. And he's done that with a number of other acts that have been committed in Ukraine that are war crimes, and I believe crimes against humanity, and I think you'll get indictments against Mr. Putin for those acts as well.
Mark Ellis, Executive Director of the International Bar Association, we really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much.